Hello everyone, it's the Left-Handed Lady coming at you today with our April Plan With Me. We're doing a honeybee honey theme for this month, and of course I had to throw a little bit of Winnie the Pooh in there, because what's a honey theme without a little bit of Winnie the Pooh? So we're starting off with our cover page, and we're doing a beehive cutout basically. So if you were to have a big picture of a beehive, I'm zooming into a couple of the bees and just abstract, not super realistic versions. I like the way it turned out. The little bees are just sketches that I started, and then the little hexagons. I have a college degree, and it took me way too long to figure out how to freehand sketch a hexagon. I did it after watching many tutorials on how to measure it properly, and I ended up cutting out a template because it was very difficult. So I used a template for the hex pattern of the honeycombs, but I free sketched the honeybees, and I'm just using different shades of yellows to go in and shade in all of those little honeycombs. On the honeybees, I used my brightest yellow, and I went through and did a squiggly line. I didn't want it to be perfectly straight because, as you know, honeybees have that furry texture to them, and you can see the difference between the two different colors, but they're kind of blended. So that's what I wanted to go for here. I'm making it very jagged. I didn't want super cartoonistic honeybees on this first page, and I really like the way it turned out. I'm mostly using Tombow brush pens, but I will list all of the colors and supplies that I use in the description box below. I have never done an all yellow theme, and honestly, once I got done with this first page, I was absolutely in love, and I fell more in love with it as I drew. So if you're not comfortable with a color, so I've never really reached for yellow as a color that I make spreads out of, but I decided to this time, and it turned out amazing. So if you've got a color in your pile of pens that you don't really reach for and you're struggling for a theme idea, just pick up that color and think of all the things that are that color and figure out one that works for your spread. That's how I came up with this on a family camping trip. Was beside myself for almost 2 hours trying to think of a spread, and I saw that I hadn't used any yellows, and then I saw honeybee. So here we are. And I really like the way it's turned out. I went ahead with a black fine liner and outlined the wings and the details of the wings. I'm not coloring them in. You could do like a pearlescent sheer on these, but as you know, honeybees' wings are see-through. So I did more of a abstract, like stained glass lining with no color on the inside for their wings. And I really like the way it turned out. It looks very realistic, but also whimsical to go with the theme. But I did not outline the rest of the bee. I thought it looked really good just like that, which is weird, and I know, because I outline everything. But we're trying to stray away from the normal today and doing a couple things out of my comfort zone and out of my normality. I am going to outline all of the honeycombs. I just thought they looked a little bit bland without it. So I'm easing into it, but I am trying to change up the way that I'm drawing out different things. So let me know what y'all think about mixing up the sketchy lines and just doing color outlines, those kind of things. And also let me know what y'all lean to. Do you like to color things in and not leave any outlines? Do you outline with the same color, or do you like the black sketchy outline that I do normally in my journal? Just going in with that bright yellow and my fine liner and writing out April, And then for the pop of red that you will see in Winnie the Pooh throughout the spread, I'm going to do 2021 and write it in with my fine liner as well. Now that's it for our cover page, but we're going to go on to our quote page. And I grew up in a Winnie the Pooh nursery. So Winnie the Pooh has been part of my childhood and my life for as long as I can remember. And I couldn't pass up doing a little picture of Winnie the Pooh waiting for honey to drip out of the beehive. I loved this sketchy look that I had to it, so I went ahead and did it in colored pencils, which I don't often use in my journal anymore, but is honestly how I started journaling, with colored pencils, and I loved the way it turned out. I loved the fact that it almost looked like I cut it out of a old-fashioned picture book and glued it into my journal. So I will not be outlining most of this, but I am going to be outlining the key parts, just like I did with the honeycombs and the bee wings. So I'm just going in and filling it in with my muted tones. I'm trying not to make this a very bold picture, but Winnie the Pooh himself is very bold, so he does stand out a little bit more with his bright yellow fur and his red little shirt. But I went with a little bit more of a muted tone color for the background and the tree and even the honeybees. Now, I will admit, and like I said in my last month's video, that some of you have commented that the little things that I draw are very difficult and complex. And I learned when I was younger how to draw those kind of things by tracing. Now, I could not, for the life of me, in the time that I spent, draw Winnie the Pooh with confidence. I felt like I was drawing a bear, but it wasn't the classic Winnie the Pooh bear. So I am going to disclose that this Winnie the Pooh here and in further spreads are traced from a original Winnie the Pooh book, but I did add different colors and a little bit of my own personal style to it. So I added honey to the pot and gave a little bit more line shading in certain spots that weren't there. But this is not my original sketch. But that just goes to show that you can do this, and especially if you are not doing it for resale or an art piece like I do, you can just sketch out things via pictures you find or anything like that and make something that you're proud of, but was also not too stressful to create. So I did my black sketchy outline on Winnie the Pooh himself and the beehive because I really wanted them to be the focal point of this art piece, but I didn't want to take away from the sketchy look of the background. Then I took my Tombow brush pen with the felt tip end and outlined the little hexagon picture and began writing my quote for the month around it, which I am in love with the quote I choose. It made me so excited that I chose this. It just popped up on my Pinterest one day. A day without a friend is like a pot without a single drop of honey. I don't have very many close friends, but the friends that I do have gotten me through every last struggle in my life, and I'm so absolutely thankful for them. I know that most of them watch these videos, so here's a little shout out to my bestest friends ever for always supporting me and believing in me even when I didn't. Everyone needs a little friend, so make sure you reach out to them more often. We're going on to my monthly spread page, and we're just doing the little hexagon pattern throughout the whole thing, and using partial hexagons for the days of the week, little tabs at the beginning of the month, and then going in and doing a little Winnie the Pooh in the far right corner, just to tie the whole spread in, but give me plenty of time, space, not time. Oh, I wish my journal could give me time. I am giving myself plenty of space to write out all of my important things for each day. I am starting a new job this month, and I really wanted to make sure that I had a clean, pretty spread to be able to organize all of my events and work jobs and all of the different things that I've got going on now. I'm very happy with how bright this theme is without being too obnoxious. The colors that I chose are very bold, but also muted in ways, and I really like the way they turned out on the page. So my color scheme for this whole month is going to be mostly yellow. I do have that red in there for Winnie the Pooh's shirt, and I'll probably be using that for important markers, but a majority of my weekly spreads will be those main 4 yellow colors. Like I said before, you can trace. It is not a deal breaker to trace things. I hope that no one is upset that I traced Winnie the Pooh. I felt like it was the only way I could do him proper justice, but I really am happy with the way it turned out and happy with the way it incorporated the pieces to my spread. And this leads into the fact that you don't have to freehand everything. I told you before that hexagons were really difficult to get right and look proper on this page. So I ended up using my Cricut Joy, which is the smallest Cricut machine that you can use. It's a cutting machine, to cut out a hexagon pattern on some scrap watercolor paper, which is really thick and sturdy. And I've used this throughout my whole spreads to trace and outline all of those hexagons and also get them very straight and easy to move around and outline quickly. So I've got a big tip for you. If you've got a repeating pattern over and over and over again in your page and you want it, I love the way this looks, but I can't imagine drawing them out by hand every single time, because I did use quite a few in the spread alone, not including the next spread and the weeklies after that. So take it easy. Don't work so hard at making your journal super intricate when you can have little shortcuts like a stencil or a handmade stencil. I know craft stores always are selling the circle stencils and square stencils, and those are so easy to come by that there's no reason to struggle at getting something perfect every time, when you could just use a tool to help you get yourself there faster, easier, and less stressful. So that's what I did. I've made myself a little tool, and I'm happy I did, because it made this spread so much more enjoyable. I almost bailed out on this spread because I was so worried about not being able to draw a hexagon properly over and over and over again. Now for our monthly spread, we've got 6x6 dot grid in the Scribbles That Matter journal. That's what gives us enough space for a little illustration on the right side. But this is the same spread setup that we did last month, and it worked really well. So I'm going back to it again, and I apologize for my hair. I, for some reason, must lean in for this portion, and it is only focusing on my frizzy head. So there you go, that's my head. But at least I was able to get these lines straight. I'm just taking that fine liner and writing in the days of the week, and taking the colors for this month's spread and dotting in all of the little date markers for each of the boxes, and then using those same markers to highlight important dates or bills or events in my journal as I have marked already, and then I will go through and add more as they come. This is how I keep my monthly spread going throughout the month and the month beforehand, is I'm always marking down with a label color so that each event is its own color and they don't all blend together. I find that that helps me organize them, because if I just wrote out 3 events in a black pen, they would look like all one event and I would never ever remember anything properly. So that's a little trick and a tip to help, is organize things by color. That's why I use usually about 4 colors to 6 colors in each of my spreads, because organizing my events by color really helps me stay organized. This upcoming weekend is Easter, and I'm so excited that I finally get to see my grandparents after almost 2 years of not seeing them due to COVID. They have finally opened up and allowed us to come over for brunch, and we are so excited. So I've got a very busy month coming up, including the new job and seeing my grandparents. It's a very joyful month, which I believe spring should be a very joyful month. It's new growth and beautiful colors. That's what I'm trying to go for in this theme. Now, here's where a stencil really comes in hand. I made a personalized stencil for my trackers so that I could lay it down, hold it in one spot, and write out all 30 of those little hexagons, which I don't think I would have done this at all different. I am so glad I thought of doing a stencil, because it made it so easy, and I have a feeling I might be making another one for next month, because this was a breeze. You know how much last month I complained about the little itty bitty box grid of my trackers, and I have found a solution, at least for this month. So I'm hoping that this little tip or little light bulb moment for me is a helpful tip for y'all. But yes, I'm just going through and making 3 trackers on the left side for my everyday tracker tasks, like my water intake, my workout, and my pet schedules. And then I have got a mood tracker and a event/important things tracker on the right side of this tracker page. Now there's also 30 hexagons there, but they're a little bit bigger because I've decided to do a color-coded mood tracker, which I have never done before. I've seen it many times done before. Many times done before in journals, but I've never had, I don't know, I have had the urge to do it, and this spread just lent itself to it. So I've got little categories that I'm going to be using to, however I feel that day, color in that hexagon with the proper color of my feelings. I have a feeling some of them are going to be multicolored, because if you know me, you know my emotions change on a whim. But let's just hope that most of them are happy. And that's what I hope for everyone. Everyone deserves happy days. I'm just going in with that same chart type table layout that I've been working with for my memorable mentions or things to remember area. So little events that happen throughout the day that I would like to note, that's where I'm going to keep track of them here. I used to be keeping track of that and my mood in this kind of spread, but I've decided to separate them out because I feel like they are connected and yet separate at the same time. So being able to keep track of the good things and bad things plus what my mood was that day, I really think is going to help me plan out how to go forward with each month. Now I'm going in with my fine liner and I'm going to write out all of the numbers and draw out the little bees as well as the titles. And there I go. I haven't made it through one of these videos, I don't think yet, in the whole year and a half I've been filming them, where I have not made a mistake. Mistakes in your journal are inevitable. I always say sketch it out in pencil first. I do. I sketch everything out in pencil first, and I still make mistakes. You just embrace them. I think the little black bar at the bottom kind of incorporates the bumblebee stripes. So I'm happy I made that mistake because it looks cute. Don't be afraid to make mistakes because yeah, they're gonna happen, but it'll be okay because not many people are going to see your journal. Your journal is for yourself. I don't create this, even now that I've created videos on my journal, I don't create it for you. I don't create it for my family or the people surrounding me. I create this for me to organize my thoughts and my feelings. And that's what a journal should be. So many people think, oh, I need to do this journal because that's what everybody does, or I need to be a tracker person because maybe it'll help me keep myself in check. Well, if it's not something you truly want to do, then you're not going to do it. You're not going to follow it through. So here's my advice. Don't be afraid to make mistakes in life or in your journal. And make sure that you just try. If you try and you don't like it, you don't have to do it. But if you try something that you were afraid of to do in the first place and you fall in love with it, imagine all the doors that could open. Now, if you're wondering, that bottom tracker, the H2O tracker, I did not label the days because you could see the days beforehand, and I wanted to make sure that I had them open and available for empty spaces. But that's pretty much our spread. I'm really excited to share this cute spread with y'all and all the new little tricks and tips I learned. I hope y'all enjoy. Thanks for watching, and remember to never stop creating.